What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is August 15th of 2018. Well, folks, it's time for a daily update here on the DataDash channel, and today we've got a wide range of topics to discuss here on the update. First and foremost, as always, we're going to be spending a decent amount of time taking a look at market valuations as well as doing some technical analysis on the market leaders. But outside of this as well, we've got some key topics to discuss. I want to spend some time to review a really interesting video that takes a counter position to the Bitcoin ETF that was recently put out by Andreas Antonopoulos. I like a lot of the points that he made, and then also I want to have some counterpoints to share as well. Along with that as well, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, has stated what he believes is going to be the cause of organic adoption for crypto over the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm going to talk about why I agree with this point later on in the video. And along with this as well, we're going to be taking a look at traditional markets and taking a look at both traditional equities as well as commodities and share my current perspective over the next coming week or two. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the analysis on markets and take a look at prices. Luckily, over the past few hours, we finally have felt the green, ladies and gentlemen. NANO, one of my favorites, finally coming up double digits, but we can see across the board that we've recovered a decent amount from yesterday's losses. So again, this is not we can't quote unquote say that this is alt season. You know, there's a meme at this point where pretty much we see a rebound in the markets and we think that it's completely over. I will be definitely, kind of explaining my position later on as we go throughout the video. But it is nice to see a little bit of green across the market and getting back above the $200 billion mark for valuation. So now that we've closed out completely pretty much all of the ridiculous gains that we saw in late November, December, and January, the question remains here: can we actually maintain support? Well, we can see that if we take a look here at Bitcoin dominance is very, very close to where it was back in December levels. We're currently sitting around the mid 50% range, and we've obviously started to see it tether down a little bit over the past few hours with altcoins rebounding, but nothing serious at the moment, so we haven't seen a massive trend reversal. I think the only case you have for altcoins at this point is if Bitcoin's going to hold at 6,000. We tend to see that altcoins couldn't win over the past few weeks no matter what. If Bitcoin was going down, alts went down faster. If Bitcoin went up, alts couldn't keep up. Again, when we're talking about altcoins, again, you usually want to see them moving up in their Bitcoin comparative, and it was pretty much the case that no matter what happened, you weren't able to see altcoins move up. Now again, we might have to wait until we see a run-up or a serious rally in Bitcoin before we get a December style event, because for stuff like that to happen in a very short period of time, you need liquidity. And what's the on-ramp to pretty much every altcoin? Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin, some of these larger cryptocurrencies that people buy through Coinbase and a lot of other retail exchanges. So again, we might have to wait for something like that, but it doesn't mean that altcoins can't rebound at these levels, that they might be oversold. Now, I want to spend some time before we talk about altcoins specifically about something I pointed out on Twitter yesterday. And if you guys haven't already followed me, if you guys like my material, if you want to keep active with me on other different platforms, please follow me on Twitter. My Twitter account is, I might be in the description. If it's not, it's on my YouTube channel. In the top right, there's a little icon for my Twitter profile. You guys can follow me. I think it's Nicholas_Merton. But anyways, I want to spend some time to talk about the margin traders, because in this market at the moment, there's an excessive amount of margin traders right now, both on the longs and the shorts. We've seen more people entering in to leverage trading on margin, trading off of money, and trading on to a high degree of margin, to whereas they're hoping to multiply their returns off of their base level of liquidity or the amount of capital that they have. And there's something very telling about margin trading, because when you can play both long and short, when you can play short in this case, you can have short squeezes. And this is something that I want to spend some time to talk about, because we can look at historical data and we can find correlations. Now, correlation doesn't always lead to causation. It doesn't mean that we're going to repeat history 24/7. But one thing that I've noticed is that every time we get down towards around 6,000, Bitcoin so far has held. Okay, we have to admire this. Now, I'm not saying we can't hit 5,000 or 4,000. That's fine. I'm completely keeping open to that. And if we do get a break below, say, like 5,800 again, I would say we're most likely going to see 5,000. Okay, so I'm not, as a trader, again, I'm not going to change my position though until I have that catalyst, until I hit that price where I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to see the next almost close to 20% decline in Bitcoin's price. So far, historically, we have generally held around 6,000, which is a key level here before the massive rally that we saw back in December. So So long as we've been holding here, every time Bitcoin has made rebounds, they've been smaller rebounds, to be fair, but they've at least been able to hold at these levels. And I want to talk about the short positions that we've been seeing. So it's interesting, the line only pops up at a specific price range. I think it's when I have it off of the price action here, the line will go away. But this line here that I've drawn is pretty much where we've seen the last 3 top outs in shorts. Okay, so this is the number of short positions on Bitfinex. This is an index, it's all public, it's just like an order book. We can see how many people are going short in this market. And lo and behold, we can see that there's only 3 times we've passed 300,000 over here in October, just barely, and then along with that as well here in April and in August of this year, August 15th. We're actually at the highest level we've seen over the past few months. So the question we have to ask ourselves here is, what happened these 3 times? What happens when we have these parabolic run-ups in shorts where the shorts get extremely confident that Bitcoin is going to go down? And again, I keep talking about this and some people don't believe me. Again, we all get different perspectives. But again, it is a very contrarian view to say that Bitcoin, and I clicked yes, I don't really care to put an opinion on this poll. You can see that there's 18,000 votes on a recent CNBC Futures Now poll, and 83% believe that the Bitcoin has not found its bottom yet. So to believe that Bitcoin's going to hold at 6K, I mean, I can tell you, I've read the comments, I've read people's concerns. Many people believe that Bitcoin's going to 5,000 or 4,000, okay? And again, it is tendent that in history, when people get too assurant, and the mainstream gets too assurant of something happening, usually the contrarian position is the right way to go. And that what I mean by contrarian is the opposite of the majority, to go against the trend. And we can see here, the past 3 times where shorts have been this high, again, I'll pull up the chart here, and here, we have an equal amount of, equal measurement of the price history here. Look at those 3 times. Every single time, back here in, back in October, proceeding into December, we saw one of the best rallies in Bitcoin. Right here in April, we had a massive short squeeze. Bitcoin went up practically 20% within a matter of a few hours and was able to liquidate a massive chunk of shorts, as you can see here in the photo. Saw a massive liquidation, about 1/3 of the shorts. And then along with that as well, we're back over here. So we have the third go around here. Now again, who knows? Shorts could very well be right at this level. We could see that even though the mass majority of people are shorting, they're in the right ballpark, and that Bitcoin will go down to the downside, maybe towards 5,000 or 4,000. Again, I've got my preparation for these positions, guys. I'm not living in a fantasy land where Bitcoin can't go down. Bitcoin can move wherever the market decides it needs to go, so long as there's the liquidity to push it. So in that case, though, I'm waiting to see what happens here. I'm not a perma bull yet. I want to see a liquidation of shorts. I want to see a breakout if I'm going to turn into a bull for this market. But for the time being, I'm remaining patient. I'm remaining neutral. We're in a very neutral area. This is the area that Bitcoin has held multiple times in the past. Question is it going to be able to do it again? So again, remaining patient. If it does break down below, again, I'll take defensive positions until 5 and possibly even 4,000 in that case. But I don't think you're going to see it just yet, even if it does come in the future. I think you're going to have a repeat of 2014 at least, where you see a rally, especially if we get a really nice squeeze in the shorts, and then in that case, maybe a continued decline if we can't maintain market momentum. So going on here, let's go ahead and talk about some of the altcoins. Now, the reason why I think the altcoin market, again, I've been talking about the ninth inning is very, very close. Ethereum has pretty much reached the bottom here. We talked about this back when Ethereum was still setting up in the 5 million Satoshi range. We were talking about how Ethereum needs to come down to this lower band, and lo and behold, it's getting very close to it. We can see as well with Ripple. Ripple is right now at the moment, I'll go ahead and pull it up here on Bittrex. We can see Ripple is getting very close towards testing this bottom level, both before the parabolic run up back in 2017, but also the support level here before we get a nice bounce back in August of 2017. So this is a key level here, and Ripple's getting very, very close to it. Along with that as well, we can go across the market. Again, we've been talking about some ones that need to come down. NEO, for example, is getting very close to 200,000 Satoshis. So I think you've got, maybe 1 or 2 more days, even though we've had a nice little bounce here over the past few hours. I think you've got another day or 2 of bloodbath in altcoins. And again, this kind of defines the fact that we're in the ninth inning. This is what I've been repeatedly saying. Again, we'll have to see if it's going to take longer than that. I think it's really going to be over the next few hours, next few days, and we're going to get that final last flush, and then from there you're going to have a massive potential short squeeze, a big boost to the upside along with altcoins. We've seen that altcoins rebound very quickly when they come back down to these levels, but again, a few other players as well that are reaching their levels that we've been watching. XMR, I mean, historically, guys, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row on the Bitcoin comparative. It's held on this line, this rising line of support. These are the areas you don't want to become a perma bear on. You don't want to be shouting, oh, Bitcoin's going to 1,000 or 2,000. This is where you get optimistic, okay? And I'm not telling you guys to buy or sell anything. You got to decide that for yourself. But as a trader, again, I know that overt exuberance and overt fear in the market tend to lead in a market reversal, a change in the trend. So again, I hate to seem one-sided on this. I'm very neutral. I understand that we could very well reach lower levels, and I'm keeping open to the idea that we could see that, and I have my positions ready for it. But that being realized, I'm just keeping patient on this, guys, and I'm looking to see if I can find players in the market that I like. A lot of altcoins, and this is my bearish side here, a lot of altcoins aren't going to come back, guys. A lot of them are going to stay low. They're going to tether off over time. A lot of people have said, oh, we're going to have one grand flush of altcoins. That's sort of what this has been, but more than anything, altcoins really die off slowly. If you just take a look at the market snapshots on CoinMarketCap, you get a good picture of what used to be the top 10 or top 100 cryptocurrencies, and then literally a few months later, it changes. Whether or not those altcoins kept moving up, they don't hold the market dominance they used to. There's new things coming. It's a very early space, and you're going to see things bounce around. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these protocols real quick, and then I want to dive into some of the different topics we have today. So Cardano coming down again, as most protocols have, down towards this level here, support around 1,400 Satoshis. This is good to see more of it coming down to more of the solidified price action. For example, you can see we had some tall wicks, and some people were saying that this would be the support for Cardano, but I think it'd be good to hold more on a solidified level where we can actually see the candles around the upper 1,300 to 1,400 Satoshi range. In this case, I don't see Cardano going much lower, but again, this is where the altcoins are starting to get quite oversold at the moment. Icon right now sitting down below the line of where it opened on Binance, again reaching what I would see as oversold. Again, a lot of these players right now are definitely keeping on the lower end. Now I want to talk about lumens here. Stellar Lumens has been on my eye for a while, and I gotta say, as much as I'm hesitant to buy something that is held relatively strong, I obviously like to buy oversold discounts, but I gotta say Lumens has been holding quite nice here on this wedge, and as altcoins might be getting a rebound soon, as well as Bitcoin, I gotta say something that's been building such a large technical wedge since all the way back in December is really exciting to me. Something that's been able to retain most of its value comparative to Bitcoin, even in this bear market. That excites me. Now, I don't have many fundamental reasons to be optimistic on Lumens, but I'm keeping an eye on this, because as a trader, you wait for that single catalyst and you get it, the technical pattern will play along. So I'm interested to see what happens here with Lumens, but going to remain patient. All right, so anyways, guys, let's go ahead and talk about a few of these things. Now, Andreas recently put out a really interesting video talking about a topic that I bet, obviously, he stated in the beginning of the video, he's been getting lots of questions about. I get it all the time as well. It's the topic that people love to talk about in the Discord. Some of us are getting burnt out talking about it, and I can agree with that to a decent degree. I don't think it's the end-all for crypto, nor do I really care to go buy a Bitcoin ETF if it comes out. I'd much rather own my crypto. But Andreas talked about a very interesting point here, and why he's generally against a Bitcoin ETF. Now, as you all know, I recently came out with a video talking about to the SEC a case for a Bitcoin ETF, but I have to say Andreas made some really good cases. I've heard a lot of negative criticism or negative predictions for Bitcoin ETF, and none of them have really stuck with me. None of them have really made me think for a second as to some of the flaws that could come with a Bitcoin ETF, some of the control that comes with it. Now, some people say, oh, it's going to lead to market manipulation, and I don't really think that's the case. More than anything, you find that in futures markets with naked shorts, for example. That's where you see manipulation, because these ETFs are pretty much like holding Bitcoin, but you're not actually owning the Bitcoin. Okay, that's owned owned under a custodial. So you don't have your private keys. You can't take your Bitcoin ETF and then go spend it. You have it in your brokerage account. You're treating it as holding a sense of like maybe a precious metal like gold or a set of stocks in a normal traditional ETF. But Andreas brings up this point, not only on a moral case, which I 100% agree on. You're not owning your actual Bitcoin in these ETFs. It's managed under a custodial. Now, you have the technical ownership in the sense of the valuation. So if I go and sell that ETF, I can get cash, and I'm going to get the cash. It's not going to be my custodian who's doing that. But at the same time, you don't own your private keys. On a moral sense, I 100% agree with this. It's the reason I never buy Bitcoin futures or ETFs or any other derivative or exchange-traded product. I believe that the best way to own cryptocurrency is through your own wallet. I go out and when I tell people about cryptocurrencies, I show them mobile wallets, I send them crypto because I want them to realize the power of becoming their own bank and the responsibility, but also the benefits that come with that. So you don't have to risk bail-ins where banks during crises can use your money for their bad mistakes or their bad investments or loans. That's something that's happened. Take a look at what happened in Cyprus. This is a real thing that actually happens. It's not some kind of doomsday thing. On my moral sense, I stand 100% by the idea of people owning their own cryptocurrency. Now, one thing I have to bring up as a criticism to Andreas, actually, I'll bring up one more good point. This is the thing that I saw as a fear that was actually a genuine concern, and that is the idea that a Bitcoin ETF gives a lot of leverage to these custodians or the companies producing these ETFs in regards to future forks. So for example, let's say there's a soft fork that would bring privacy features to Bitcoin. I'll let you watch the video if you want more details, but basically Andreas makes the case that if these people have such a high weighted stake in Bitcoin and they don't update or go along with this soft fork or the update towards private transactions, that could lead the Bitcoin community towards the decision-making process of those who own a lot of Bitcoin, those who are owning the custodians of those Bitcoin, because the people investing in it aren't going to have the decision-making authority for it, unless specified somehow in the ETF clause. I don't think that's really going to happen. I think they just want to speculate. Whereas this could prevent Bitcoin from improving or having features that go against what the large financial institutions and governments want. Now, I have to be fair here. I don't think this is going to be much of a concern. We saw, for example, the largest colossal gathering of, for example, all the major corporate entities, exchanges, and miners meeting up in New York, for example, during the New York Agreement to make SegWit 2x. Now, I loved the idea of SegWit 2x as a technical concept, increasing block size to 2 megabytes and implementing SegWit. But I do not agree with a few people meeting in New York, a few corporations and corporate entities meeting together to decide the fate of Bitcoin. And we saw that the miners rejected it, the community rejected it. And that's exactly what I think what would happen here. Even if you own, let's say, 1 million Bitcoin under this ETF, it's not going to be enough weight to be the ultimate determiner of the updates to the Bitcoin network. So I don't really see that as a fear here. And I think as well, we have to understand that there are always going to be some people who will not go through the process of buying their own Bitcoin. And because of that just like with futures contracts, they should have a right to speculate with these cryptocurrencies in different means and shapes and forms, because some people don't have access to futures contracts. That's more of an institutional tool. So again, that's where I still stand. It's the opportunity for people to participate in these ecosystems to, in a sense, make a profit, if you want to see it like that, or to lose on it. If people just see it as a speculative instrument, they have every right to do so. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's the best thing to see crypto as. But at the end of the day, again, it's a big reason why many people are earning crypto right now. And I would much rather give people the opportunity to do that if they don't feel like they need to open up a Coinbase account. I would much rather just own an ETF. Again, there are some technical worries, as Andreas pointed out. But again, I recommend you go watch that video. Again, as you all know, I like to get different opinions, and Andreas really opened up my eye with that. So again, would love to explore it a little bit more in the future. Going on here, though, towards a more kind of macro, long-term topic here in crypto, the Coinbase CEO, Brian Armstrong, came out in a recent interview that he did. He had a really nice interview, and I'll go ahead, and again, you guys can check it out yourself if you'd like to look through it. But he basically stated that countries that are going through economic crises, recessions or currency crises, proper English, will actually go through organic adoption of cryptocurrencies, and this is how we're going to see it go mainstream. And I 100% agree with this. Again, I always talk about the the crypto guilt that people feel when they say, like when the topic of spending crypto and actually using crypto as currency is brought up comparative to investing. People are always like, oh yeah, I spend crypto whenever I can and this and that. And look, the fact of the matter is, guys, if you live in the United States or in Canada or in Europe or even in some parts of Asia, it's understandable as to why you wouldn't want to spend your cryptocurrency. If your traditional fiat currency is relatively stable and strong comparative to others, it's understandable as to why you'd be fine using fiat currency, especially with the payment gateways that it has, the very simple tap and go features of debit cards, the chip or swiping feature of credit cards, the fact that I can go online and shop, or the mobile banking applications and payment solutions like Venmo. It's very convenient. It works quite well, and you even though your value is probably being depreciated by inflation, it's so minimal that we don't really notice it on a day-to-day basis. So if you're in the West, it's understandable. But where we're going to really see the first levels of adoption are in countries that don't have those conveniences, either the technological conveniences of payment solutions, or they have the fundamental flaws showing in their fiat currency. Now, again, the dollar and the currency in Venezuela or Argentina or all these different economies that we're going to be talking about, they all operate under the same mechanics, but it's the management of that monetary policy and the strength tied to the economy of that currency. And obviously the dollar is the world reserve currency because of that. But we can see in countries, as we go across the board here in Argentina, Argentina's heading for yet again another currency crisis. You can go check the foreign exchange rates on this. It's been dwindling comparative to the dollar, making new historic lows. You can see in Turkey, we just talked about in the last daily update 2 days ago, whereas we just reached an all-time low in the Turkish lira. So we're seeing this across the board, and Venezuela, as you all know, has even gone all of the way towards making a cryptocurrency called the petro as an alternative towards their traditional currency, because Maduro knows that the traditional Venezuelan currency is done for. It's hyperinflated to no avail, okay? And they really have no choice outside to just explore things. I'm not promoting the petro. I don't really care for it. And I think there's some negatives with it as well. But we can see that these economies are going to be the first to adopt cryptocurrencies, whether they are centralized or decentralized, whatever it is. An alternative set of monetary units that don't have a central bank managing them, that are not prone to mass velocity in the policies of these currencies, the interest rates, the supply of the currency. We're going to come towards a world where we know the exact supply or the creation rate of these currencies. And it's going to be very, very interesting to have a competition of currencies and really see the world start to use them as a payment solution, because there are countries in the world that need it, that love the convenience of cryptocurrencies and don't have the infrastructure or the convenience and stability of traditional currencies that we have in the Western world. And eventually, when it hits us, which it will one day, I believe, then we will eventually adopt cryptocurrencies and use them as payment solutions. Until then, at the moment, they've got a lot of room to grow. So I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the NASDAQ here. This morning I was watching the futures, and what's happening right now is close to about a 2% drop in the NASDAQ. If you look across the other indices, a little bit less comparative to what the NASDAQ is producing at the moment, last time I checked. But generally speaking, my whole kind of target for the NASDAQ here, I was talking about in the daily update the other day about how we saw a double top. You can see up here, for example, that we reached a double top in price, and I was quite concerned that we'd start to see a rollover. I think we're going to continue to see this, guys. We're in currently on Wednesday in the week. I think by sometime on Monday or Tuesday of next week, you're going to see a revisit at least down to the 200-day, or we could be on the set to repeat what we saw back here in 2015. We could have a very well-built flash crash. Now, I don't know what the catalyst will be. Again, the media loves to find things. They really built up the whole, China economy collapse back in 2015. And even though the Chinese economy and equities markets have been slower and have dropped a tad bit, they made it sound like it was the end of the world, and they did it within about a week. So the same exact thing can happen here when we're talking about traditional markets. The RSI isn't oversold yet, nor is it really overbought. We're in a kind of a neutral zone down here, as we can see here on the chart. But I think generally, after you break down the 50-day, it's pretty obvious we're going to be reaching down towards the 200-day moving average. And we'll see if we can hold this line. Again, this is a very key line that we haven't broken since all the way back in the summer of 2017. Over a year, we've been able to hold this line. If we break this, this could be very, very bad for U.S. equities. It might actually start the domino effect of the stock buybacks. We might see something very similar to that of Facebook, these massive double-digit drops in a single day. But who knows? We'll have to see if the market can sustain or if buyers come in at these lows to support the price. Until then, though, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Again, for commodities markets, to give you all a quick summary, I almost forgot about that. Gold and silver still keeping my target that these are going to be dropping towards their last level of support. I'll bring up the silver chart real quick just to let you all know. I almost forgot my commodities coverage. I think silver is going to be coming back down to here, or SLV is going to come back down to 13, and along with that as well, waiting for GLD to come back down towards $100 here. Best case scenario might be around 107. We'll have to see if there's a rebound there. Might do a little bit of a trade there if I feel like bouncing back into commodities, if crypto remains slow, and then along with that as well, down here at $100. So that's it for the video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. What do you all think about what we talked about? Please leave a comment down below. Love to hear what you all think about all the things we talked about what Andreas has to say about the Bitcoin ETF, what Brian Armstrong said about the adoption of crypto, and what do you think about the general crypto space as well as equities and commodities. Anyways, till the next video, everyone, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.